Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam Devi saraswatim chaiva tato jayamudiraye. Jai Gurudev. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
So we have to read from Shloka 30, right?
30, yes.
Okay. And in between, anyone wants to read, just let me know. I can stop and then you can take over. I can share the screen, but you can read. I'll start with the Shloka 30 now. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyaadhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yuddhasva vigatachvaraha. Sarvani, all, karmani, actions, mai, unto me, sannasya, renouncing, adhyatma chetasa, with a mind that is discriminating, nirashi, devoid of expectations, with reference to the future, nirmamaha, devoid of mindness, bhutva, being, vigata jvaraha, without any anger or frustration. Yuddhasva, fight. Renouncing all actions onto me with a mind that is discriminating, devoid of expectations, with reference to future and any sense of mindness, without any anger or frustration whatsoever, fight. The word fight in this verse can refer to anything, beginning with one's daily battle of getting out of bed in the morning. Throughout the day, also there are a number of situations to be faced. For Arjuna, what had to be faced was an actual battle. The battle was kartavyam karma, a to be done action for him. Given all that, Arjuna and Krishna had said before Krishna mandate, get up and fight, was to be expected. It was neither a command nor advice, it was teaching. Having presented his arguments, Krishna simply said, do it. Thus, there was a definite therefore implied here, indicating teaching rather than command or advice. The rest of the verse deals with how Arjuna was to fight. First, giving up all activities, fight. Sarvani karmani sanyasya yuddhasva. There are two types of sarva karma sannyasa, as we have seen. How can you fight if you have renounced all the activities? It won't work. If, on the other hand, the mandate is renouncing all actions, go to a teacher and listen to the Shastra. Sarvani karmani sannyasa. Shravanam kuryad gurumeva vigacchate. Giving up all activities, burning all your bridges behind you and your boats too. If you have any, go for moksha. The giving up is meant for learning alone, meaning that you go to a teacher and study until you gain the knowledge. That is moksha. Renunciation is purely moksha, not for anything else. I think someone is unmuted. Can you mute yourself, please? The giving up is meant for learning alone, meaning that you go to a teacher and study until you gain the knowledge. That is moksha. Renunciation is purely for moksha, not for anything else. We have seen how sannyasa is particular lifestyle that enables a person to renounce all activities in order to pursue knowledge. But here, sannyasa is used in conjunction with the mandate renouncing all activity, fight. Sarvani karmani sannyasa yuddhasva. Fighting being an activity, what does giving up all activity mean? Does it mean that is not Arjuna is not to do anything other than fight? Performing only one action, give up every other activity, prayer, ritual, eating, sleeping, helping, everything, and fight. What does renunciation really mean? Obviously, because activity in the form of fighting is involved, this sannyasa is other than what we have seen before. Here, it relates to doing what is to be done, which for Arjuna happens to be yuddha, fighting. Krishna was not suggesting that Arjuna give up all activities and fight. This would not have been possible. What was intended here becomes much clearer when the word mai, unto me, is taken into account. Unto me means unto the Lord, thereby connecting the giving up sannyasa with karma yoga, meaning that all one's activities are offered unto the Lord. In his commentary of this verse, Shankara compares this offering of one's actions to how a servant of a king goes about doing various activities without questioning how or why it is to be done. I have been placed here to do this particular activity. This is how I have been asked to do it, and therefore I do it. Similarly, whether you like it or not, you find yourself in a given situation that calls for particular action. For Arjuna, it happened to be a battle, a fight. For another person, it may be something else. And although Arjuna was Kshatriya, doing what was to be done would not always mean fighting. If he had taken the expression Sarvani Karmani Sannyasa Yuddhasva wrongly, he may have thought that he should always fight, which was not what was intended. Doing what is to be done is to be understood within the context of the situation one finds oneself in. Certain situations call for certain actions. Therefore, yuddhasva can be taken to mean kurusva. Do what is to be done and do it with an awareness of Ishvara. Awareness of Ishvara is pointed out in the verse by the word Adhyatma Chetasa. Chetasa meaning with the mind. The mind should have viveka. Adhyatma means with the reference to oneself. Adhyatma Chetas enables you to know what is and what is not the right thing to do. This capacity is called Viveka Buddhi. A Vivek Buddhi says, I am a doer, of course, but I do this for the sake of Ishvara, as a Pratya. The one who serves Aham Karta Ishvarasya Bhartavyat Karomi. The person who performs action in this way is a mumukshu, a seeker, because the person thinks of himself or herself as a karta. He or she is karma yogi. There is an evolution that can take place here. One who is not karma yogi and one who is totally deluded, Vimudhatma, is also a karta, but still does karma for the results alone. His thought is, for my sake, I am doing this. For a Vimudhatma, expediency, and the convenience take precedence over a more appropriate means when choosing a course of action. Even though he or she may have one eye on Dharma, the other eye can be somewhat blind if the other person thinks there is any justification for going against Dharma. Anyone wants to say something?
Can you repeat the last few lines?
Yeah. For my sake, I am doing this. For a Vimudhatma, expediency and convenience take precedence over a more appropriate means when choosing course of action. Even though he or she may have one eye on Dharma, the other eye can be somewhat blind if the person thinks there is an justification for going against Dharma. You are placed in situations that you did not create. The karma yogi, on the other hand, performs actions quite differently for the sake of Ishvara. Therefore, an awareness is necessary, which is Viveka here, Adhyatma Chetasa, with a mind that is awakened to Ishvara. Do all the activities that you are going to do, surrendering them onto me, Krishna said here. Why? Because you are placed in situations that you did not create, nor does anything really belong to you. Everything belongs to Ishvara alone. Thus, you are placed in certain situations, and the order of Dharma governing such situations is the Lord. The order determines what is expected of you in each situation, and as a karma yogi, you do it with an awareness of this fact. Further, Krishna said, Nirashiya nirmamaha bhutva yuddhasva. Nirashi is one from whom all notions about the future asha have gone. Future plans, goals, grandiose schemes, and priorities can stifle and inhibit one's present course of action with reference to what is to be done now. A person who thinks only of future will compromise what is to be done in the present, thereby becoming a schemer. Such a person is not a karma yogi. He or she is an aviveki, one who performs karma for the results alone. What is to be done is not done if it is inhibited by your own asha. Thus, Nirashi is one who is not inhibited by futuristic ambitions nor devoid of ambitions. Nirmama means one from whom the mamatva, the mindness, is gone. Such a person no longer thinks in terms of this is mine, this is not mine, which also inhibits what is to be done. This is not my job. I'm not getting anything out of this. Why should I do this when it is his job? He's supposed to do it. This mindness or mamatva is the greatest villain in the maturing process of person, because to be mature one has to see only what is to be done. Therefore, mamatva should not interfere with one's doing what is to be done. We can see by these two words, Nirashi and Nirmama, that Karma Yoga is not an ordinary thing. It requires a lot of maturity and an awareness of the law that are Ishvara. Karma Yoga does not mean that you should not receive wages for the work you do, although there may be situations where it would be more appropriate not to. What makes you Karma Yogi is simply the awareness of Ishvara, as we have seen before and will see again. Another word given in this verse describing how one is to perform action is Vigata Jwaraha, meaning to be free from all anger and frustration. Suppose a man wants to do what is to be done in a given situation that Ishvara has placed him or her in, but thinks that Ishvara has placed him in a wrong situation. He acknowledges that Ishvara knows what he is doing, but still thinks of it as a wrong situation and becomes frustrated. This frustration is what is meant by Jwara, leading to murmuring, complaining. By using the word Vigata Jwara, Krishna told Arjuna to fight cheerfully without a dash of complaint, frustration, despair, or anger. Further, Krishna said, Ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti manavaha shraddhavanto anusayanto muchantepi karmabhihi. Shraddhavantaha, people who have faith, anusuyantaha, those who do not find fault, not intolerant of goodness in others, ye, those, manavaha, people, may, my, idam, this, matam, teaching, nityam, constantly, anutishtanti, follow, they, api, even, karmabhihi, muchante, are released by the karma phalas. Those people who constantly follow this teaching of mine, full of faith, without asuya, without finding fault with the teaching or the teacher, they too are released by the karma phalas. They are freed from the hold of karma phalas. They gain moksha. We have seen the three types of people who perform karma. One type were kings like Janaka, who were also jnanis, wise men, all of whom remained active even though they had the knowledge. They engaged themselves in activities simply because it was in their prarabdha to do so. They had to do it and therefore they did it. There was no reason not to. They had nothing to lose and others benefited from their actions. Those who do nothing but teach, having gained the knowledge, can also be included in this group. Teaching being an activity, Sarva Karma Sannyasa is the renunciation of all activities in terms of knowledge alone. It is not to be taken literally, as we have seen. In terms of knowledge, you are not the doer. Knowing this frees you completely from all actions. Whether you perform activities or not, you may be sannyasi or you may be very active in the world. In this way, then there are two types of enlightened people, sannyasis and non-sannyasis, with reference to lifestyle. But in terms of knowledge, there is sarva karma sannyasa for both. Although Janaka was a king, engaged in lot of activity, he was considered to be enlightened. Here Krishna told Arjuna that even if he was enlightened, he could continue to do karma for the benefit of the world, as Janaka did, for the sake of establishing dharma so that people would be protected. Krishna knew very well that his own mission was saying, Look at me, I too perform actions, not because I have something to accomplish, but because if I do nothing, others will follow my example which would not be good for them. All this Krishna pointed out. A second type of people who perform karma are avivekis, those who have no discrimination and therefore no desires for moksha. They are only interested in fulfilling their likes and dislikes, for which they engage in activities. More often than not, such people cut corners and sometimes take the wrong path in order to accomplish their ends. These people can only be asked to come to Dharma. Let them pursue whatever they want to pursue according to Dharma. That itself is a blessing. One's choice is surrendered to what is proper. Finally, for those who are mumukshu, who have raga dveshas, Krishna pointed out karma yoga. Such people can either take to sannyasa or karma yoga, either of which involves giving up tyaga. For a sannyasi, tyaga means karma tyaga as well as all other tyagas covering any pursuit or attachment. The person has to grow out of each and every one of them, renouncing them all before becoming a sannyasi. Or one can be karma yogi. Such a person does what is to be done simply because it is to be done. The karma yogi's commitment to moksha, being what it is, his or her choice of action, has nothing to do with what he or she likes to do. If, on the other hand, the emphasis is on doing what is convenient and what one likes to do, even a child will eventually question why he or she cannot do certain things. He or she will say, "Who are you to stop me? That is how you brought me up. Why now that I am 16, are you trying to stop me from doing what I want to do? It doesn't make sense. You have always asked me what I want, and this is what I want." The psyche leads to react in this way when this particular approach is taken. Such an approach is not always right, nor does the world necessarily operate in such a way. Therefore, what is proper becomes important. To do what is proper may involve sacrifice in terms of your own pleasure, your own likes and dislikes. Unless you can give them up, it is impossible to always do what is to be done, kartavya. Therefore, propriety, not convenience, should be ruling factor, all of which is implied in Karma Yoga. A Karma Yogi is Bhakta, a devotee. Without devotion, without the awareness of Ishvara, there is no Karma Yoga. Having said all this before, Krishna again picked up this thread. Performing all activities for the Lord's sake is one great yajna, one great offering. What you have to do in this situation you find yourself in is done as something that is dictated by Ishvara, meaning karma. Karma is the law and the law is Ishvara. The choice of doing this or that is given to you, and that choice is surrendered to what is obvious. Each situation is nothing but karma unfolding itself, and inherent in it is an obvious course of action, an expected action. This is what you do because this is how you have been placed yourself based on your own past actions. And whatever are the results of the actions you perform, you simply receive them as prasada. How Krishna's vision is to be followed. The verb in this verse is anutishtanti, meaning follow, practice, or live according to. Manavaha means those who come under mandate of Manu, the ordainer of the law, that is Ishvara. In other words, all human beings. And how long do they live this way? Just miss something. In other words, all human beings. And how long do they live this way? Nityam, always. This is not just a morning or evening practice, nor is it a Monday, Friday, or Sunday practice. It is a constant practice. And what is that is practiced? What do the people follow? They follow what was said by Krishna, his vision, me matam, this particular sadhana, karma yoga, and they follow it properly with Shraddha. Shraddhavanta, Shraddhavantah, Anusuyantah, and with no intolerance towards the Lord, his vision, or the karma yoga that he has advised as means for gaining liberation, moksha. The Shraddha mentioned in this verse is looking upon the words of Shastra, the Veda, as unfolded by a teacher as true. Whether one understands these words to be true or not, one at least accepts them in good faith. This Shraddha extends to the words of the Gita as well, since the Gita does not say anything other than what is said by the Veda. The English translation from Shraddha is faith. Shraddha is operative when, even though these scriptures may seem to be contradictory according to your perception, you accept them and inquire into their message. Shraddha grants you the disposition, the attitude necessary for the further pursuit. What you can know is determined by what you already know. When you look at the Shastra in the form of sentences, you derived a certain meaning from it based on what you already know. Only on the basis of what you already know can you absorb or understand any sentence. In fact, in other words, you do not understand more than what you already know. What you will understand of the Shastra is determined by where you are coming from and where you are right now. Based on your past experiences and present understanding, there is a predisposition to do what a sentence can reveal to you. Therefore, when you look at the sentence that has a new message to give, what can it give you? Can the intentions behind the sentence be understood? The intention of the sentence is important in communication. When someone forms a sentence, the person has an intended meaning to convey, and that meaning is what you should receive. Sometimes, however, the words spoken do not convey the intended meaning of the speaker. And even when the intended meaning is clearly conveyed, it is anyone's guess whether the listener or the reader will pick it up. This is especially true if the message is unlike anything that the listener already knows, whether if the message is similar to what he or she knows, it is much easier for the person to pick it up. Using the knowledge he or she already has, the person can go further in his or her understanding of what is being conveyed. But if the message is entirely dissimilar, meaning that it is against everything the person has so far concluded about himself or herself and the world, it is not even mind-boggling. It simply sounds silly. Do you want me to read it again? Anyone wants? How can everything be one when all I see are differences? To say that these differences are false, that everything is mithya, when so much of what is experienced is tangible. The walls, physical bodies, objects, even the microbes that bother me so much makes no sense whatsoever because everything seems to be so real. This is because the word mithya is not properly understood, nor do the various translations help. One will translate mithya as false, another as illusion, and still another as delusion. To say that the world is anything of these does not agree with my experience. To say the world is an illusion is itself an illusion. The very concept is an illusion. If you consider the world an illusion, where does that leave you? Uh, I think somebody is unmuted. Can you please mute yourself? Are you not in the world? And since you are, does this not mean that both you and your statement are an illusion? If the one who talks is an illusion, and that which is talked about is illusion, then talking also is illusion. I'll read it once again. To say the world is an illusion is itself an illusion. The very concept is an illusion. If you consider the world an illusion, where does that leave you? Are you not in the world? And since you are, does this not mean that both you and your statement are an illusion? If the one who talks is an illusion and that which is talked about is illusion, then talking also is illusion. This being the case, everything becomes satya because the one who talks and what is talked about belong to the same category. If everything is illusion, where is satya? Thus, you can call everything satya or you can call it illusion. In Buddhism, everything is mithya and therefore mithya is satya. To say everything is mithya means that everything becomes satya. Therefore, words like illusion, delusion, and so on simply do not convey what is intended unless there is an understanding of what satya is and what mithya is. To appreciate their meanings, you must know Vedanta, which means you must know what the statement Tattvamasi means. And unless you know Tattvamasi, you will not understand Tattvamasi. Thus, we have an interesting paradox here. If you already know Tattvamasi, you need not study Tattvamasi. And if you do not know Tattvamasi, how are you going to understand Tattvamasi? It is for this reason that one needs a lot of Shraddha and a teacher who is well established in knowledge. It is not a simple matter. To study Vedanta requires Shraddha. Otherwise, it will have no meaning whatsoever. Vedanta
I can read. Belaji, is that Belaji?
No, this is Mrinal. This is Mrinal.
If you want me to read or you complete it, I will read later on.
No, you can start from here. I'll mute myself.
Okay then.
Okay. And
Veda? Yeah, please.
if you want, I think what time we are supposed to stop? Is it 6 o'clock or 6:15?
Whatever you tell. For me, nothing.
Okay, as
You have to tell us.
Yeah, okay. You can start reading.
Vedanta as a pramana. Vedanta can never be the subject matter of academic pursuit because it is based purely upon Shraddha. The Shraddha is in the Shastra as a pramana for which supporting logic is given. Only when Vedanta is looked upon as a pramana, a means of knowledge, does it have a value, otherwise it has none. Only when Vedanta is looked upon as a pramana, a means of knowledge, does it have a value, otherwise it has none. When I say Vedanta is a pramana, you have no way of proving that it is not a pramana, because one pramana cannot be dismissed by another pramana. This is because for a pramana to be dismissed by another pramana, it should be within the scope of other pramana. But what a particular pramana makes you know is not available for verification or dismissal by another pramana. For example, when I see an object as yellow and it is really blue, only the eyes can disqualify what I saw as a wrong. I may still see the object in the same way, but the eyes alone have to say, not the ears, that it is not yellow, it is blue. Due to some problem in the eyes, I may not be able to see it as blue. No other pramana has a scope here. Can you make it up? You have to, once a pramana is accepted as an independent pramana, then it has to prove itself as pramana, as a means of knowledge. For it to do so, you have to give the pramana a chance. If you do not give the pramana a chance, you should not talk against it. You cannot establish that a means of knowledge is not a pramana just by talking about it. This is an unreasonable position to take. And a person who knows it as a pramana will have no interest in refuting such a stance. You have not allowed the pramana to prove itself to you. A reasonable stance can only be taken after you have analyzed the pramana and worked with it, but you can only do this if you accept it as a pramana in the first place. And to do this requires Shraddha. Therefore, when you work with it with Shraddha, it works. Only then can it prove itself. Very good, Donna. Anything needed in this discussion? Okay, then further. There is no basis for objection. The pramana says you are not a jiva, an individual. That individuality is just a notion. It says you are Param Brahma, a statement that is not something to be simply swallowed. It is to be understood because the pramana is saying something desirable. What basis do you have for any objection? None. Since the pramana says you are, please, you have to move the Mrinalji. Wait.
Suresh, it might take little time because
Okay.
there would be lag.
Okay.
So I'll be moving it. I'm aware.
Okay. No, come down. I have not completed that. It was not full. Okay, little. Yeah. There is no none. Since the pramana says you are since the Pramana says you are Brahman, then until you see that you are Brahman, you should work with it. If you see that you are Brahman, there is no problem. And if you do not, on what basis can you say you are not Brahman? Very good. You can only say, Vedanta says I am Brahman, but I don't think I am. And besides, other people tell me I am an idiot. This seems to be more reasonable to me because it seems to be truer. When what is said by the Pramana is desirable, you are the whole, you are the Brahman, then you have to go for it. No one needs to tell you that you are not Brahman. This you knew long ago. That you are not Brahman is not something that you have to be taught by a scripture, a religion, prophets, or messiahs. The Shruti is not telling you something you already know. It is telling you something you do not know. It says you are Brahman, which is something desirable. To hear that you are the whole is definitely not undesirable because the whole is exactly what you want to be. Very good. Behind all your pursuits, is the conclusion that you are small, and it is from this conclusion that you seek to be free. The Shruti tells you that you are already free from being small. Therefore, you have no basis for saying that what the Shruti says is wrong. You cannot prove that you are not Brahman. If you could, then Brahman would be within the scope of perception and interference, which it is not. Perception and interference are the means of knowledge available to me. The subject Atma, whose essence is Brahman. Atma is Brahman because Atma is not an object to be known by perception or interference. You cannot prove that the self is not Brahman. This is why Shraddha in the Shruti as a pramana is necessary. And because you have to understand what the statement Tattvam Asi is to be able to know it, you must go someone who knows it, that a teacher. You may say that if a teacher cannot come to know, then you also should be able to figure it out. But the teacher came to know because he or she had a guru, and that guru came to know because he or she also had a guru. Like this, it goes on and on and on, right back to the first teacher. Lord Krishna said, by me alone it was taught at the beginning, and it works if we have Shraddha in the Shruti as a pramana. Shraddha is an attitude that enables you to say, the words are true. My words are true. My understanding alone is not proper. And if Shraddha is not there, you will give it up, saying, I have studied so many Upanishads and I have concluded that Vedanta is just another strip. The Upanishads say that you are Brahman and other scriptures say that you are not. Which should I accept? They are all speculations. The very Upanishads themselves are contradictory. In this way, you can dismiss it all because of lack of Shraddha. Very good. Without Shraddha, confusion is inevitable. While writing an introduction to the translation of Shankara's Brahma Sutra Bhashya, the author who had translated it as part of the Max Muller series, wrote that Shankara did not know the difference between Brahman and Ishvara. He based his conclusion on a few passages, saying that where the word Brahman appears in the text, Shankara used the word Parameshvara. And where the text says Parameshvara, he used the word Brahman. Translations by such people are very dangerous in that they totally miss the point. Whether the word is Parameshvara, Paramatma, or Brahman, it is all the same. The word Jiva can also be included since Jiva and Brahman are also one and the same. Shankara used the word Ishvara in the sense of Brahman as the cause of the creation. Jagat Karanam Brahma. Sometimes he used Parama Brahma and sometimes he used Parameshvara. The meaning is the same, as he explained very clearly. He used Brahman in the way he did because that is how the Shastra used it. The word Brahman is like that. Parameshvara is Brahman. Brahman is Parameshvara because he is the cause of the whole Jagat. Jagat Karanatvat Brahmaiva Parameshvaraha. Jagat Karanatvat Brahmaiva Parameshvara. When you accept the Pramana with Shraddha, you do not dismiss what it says. Rather, you doubt your understanding of what it says. Good. Because Arjuna had this attitude, he did not tell Krishna that his words were contradictory. He merely said that they seem to be contradictory. This then is what is meant by Shraddha, and you need it all the way because moksha is in the form of knowledge. You require Sudha Antahkarana, Shuddha Antarakarana, a proper mind. And for that, you require Karma Yoga, which is based upon Shraddha, in the sense that you want to know that you are Brahman. Because this knowledge is contained in the Shastra, you have Shraddha in the Shastra as a means of knowledge, a pramana. The people mentioned in the verse under study have this Shraddha, which is why they are called Shraddhavant. Those who have Shraddha are also described here as Anasuyantaha. To understand the meaning of this word, there are two Sanskrit words we should look at, Anasuya and Matsarya. Matsarya can be translated in English as jealousy. Suppose Asuya and Matsarya. Matsarya can be translated into English as jealousy. Suppose someone has gained something, some success, skill, wealth, knowledge, or some possession or other knowledge or some possession or other. Seeing the achievement of this person, another person may become unhappy. This unhappiness is jealousy. In Sanskrit, it is paraphrased as parot custom drishtva jaya manaha santaf matsaryaha. Parotkrastam drishtva Jaya Manaha Santapa Matsarya. The word Jaya Manaha Santapa describes this jealousy. Santapa means
It is
sorrow.
Jayamana. Jayamana.
Okay, good.
When
Very
that
good.
overhead line is there, you have to do a dirgha. So Jayamana
Okay,
Santapa.
good. Thank you. Parot Kastam Draštva Jayamanaha Santapaha Matsarya. The word Jayamanaha Santapaha describes this jealousy. Santapa means sorrow, sadness, some affliction or uneasiness in the mind. And Jayamana meaning being born. This uneasiness or discomfort that occurs in the mind is called jealousy. It can be seen even in the way of jealous person looks at the other person. This then is what is meant by matsarya or jealousy. Then there is asuya, which means intolerance, another form of jealousy. Asuya is when a person tries to find a defect in a person who has some virtues. Guneshu dosha darshanam. When a man praises the virtues of another man, you may say that he is praising him because he does not know him, and you do. In fact, you have a long list of things to prove that the person is not at all virtuous. Asuya is the characteristic of always trying to find some skeletons in a person's closet, some lack, some blemish in the person. You try to find some defect among the person's virtue or in the very virtues themselves. Jealousy is unhappiness in different degree over the success or happiness of others. But asuya, also an expression of jealousy, goes one step further and finds faults with people themselves. Trying to find defects in the vision is not Shraddha. Good. Krishna is talking here about people who have Shraddha in his vision, which is the Shruti's vision. Such people do not try to see defect in it so that they need not follow it. Those who attempt to find defect in the Shruti always try to justify that what it is saying what it is saying is not true. But this justification is always backed by a prior conclusion. Any justification is preceded by a conclusion. Any justification is preceded by a conclusion. You conclude and then justify. Even though the Shruti can give the person moksha, still he or she finds some blemish in it. Such people will say, Karma Yoga. I have seen a lot of Karma Yogis. They suffer as much I do. What have they accomplished? Nothing. They are still the same. How does the person know they are the same? They alone know what they were before and what they are now. No one else knows. To say they are the same is nothing but the person's perception, and that is not exactly a reliable criteria to follow here. Those who have Shraddha in the vision of the Shruti are different. They accept that Karma Yoga will give them the Antakarana necessary for gaining the knowledge. Such people do not have any asuya, meaning that they accept what is said by Krishna gladly and are therefore anasuyantaha. Very good. The verse says that they also get liberated, released by the karmas. Te api karma bihi muchante. By karma yoga, when these people gain antakarana shuddhi, they are by karma yoga, when these people gain antakarana shuddhi, they are able to assimilate the knowledge that I am Jagat Karanam Brahma. I am Jagat Karanam Brahma. And because of this knowledge, they are free of all the karma phalas standing in their account. That is, all the sanchita karmas. Oh, they are free from sanchita karmas. This is what is meant by te api karma bhi muchante. Because Arjuna wanted to be sannyasi, Krishna tells him sannyasis are liberated and karma yogis are also liberated. There is no question of karma yogis being second rate here. The only difference between the two is that sannyasis pursue knowledge directly to the exclusion of all else. And karma yogis prepare themselves for the pursuing knowledge. There may be a time lag. For karma yogi, there may be time lag for a karma yogi with reference to gaining the knowledge. But this will also happen for sannyasi whose antakarana shuddhi is not complete. Very good. The point here is that knowledge has to be gained. Karma yogis are also mumukshus. They also gain liberation. Liberation is not gained by sannyasis alone. Without giving up karma, karma yogis as well as sannyasis are liberated from all the karmas. Thus, the word api, when taken to mean also, can create confusion, whereas when it is taken to mean as well, there is no confusion at all. Oh, such a good. Good.
Should we discuss?
I will.
Since Brahmaraj is here now, she can take over for discussion. It's 6 o'clock, and if there is no questions or nothing to be discussed, we can read the further
I will read
shloka.
it.
But yeah,
Okay.
but it's 6 o'clock already. So anyone wants to discuss something, they can. And if not, then we'll read further.
Jai Gurudev. I want Suresh Dada to please repeat that Sanchita Karma thing, no? Just those 2-3 lines, little bit
Yeah.
elaborate.
Good. Means whatever, if we have Anasuya, then Shraddha, with Shraddha, we become the karma yogi. That karma muchante, means that is there, no? Means even the sanchita karmas will also be washed out. You do not have to worry. If you do it with Shraddha, that is what here, I will read that whole. The verse says that they also get liberated, released by the karmas. Te api karma bhi muchante. That is, that api, te api, little go up, madam. They have written, no, te api has to be read as well, not also. Te api karma bhi muchante. Read as they also, or as well, they as well, not also. Also means and, they as well means they can be both like that. See in the
Is
last
it-
right.
Yeah, is it that karma yogis, if they do, can you hear
Hmm.
me? Karma yogis,
Yeah.
if they do the karma with Shraddha and without uh, any asuya, means irsha, jealousy,
Yeah.
means without the negative emotions. If you do the karma, then even the sanchit karma also get burnt. Is it that?
Burnt. Yeah, that is what it is. It is written here.
Oh,
I will read it here. Therefore, I
those
immediately say,
negative emotions create the karma bondage.
yeah. See, the verse says that they also get, they are as well, it should not be read as also. They as well get liberated. Also means and, no. As well means they're together. They can be, the verse says they also get liberated, released by karmas. Te api karma bhi muchante. By karma yoga, when these people gain antakarana shuddhi, they are able to assimilate the knowledge that I am Jagat Karanam Brahma. When you become, when our antakarana shuddhi becomes clean, and we get that knowledge, which is I am Jagat Karanam Brahma. And because of this knowledge, they are free of all the karma phalas standing in their account. That is all the sanchita karmas. This is what is meant by te api karma bhi muchante. Because Arjuna wanted to be sannyasi, Krishna tells him sannyasis are liberated and karma yogis are also liberated. So good.
So beautiful is this, for
Hmm.
people like us.
Yeah, that is what we'll be thinking. Only sannyasis will get liberated. I was also thinking still, to get liberation, I had to become sannyasi. I was thinking, being in the family itself, we can become karma yogi and then can be liberate ourselves. That was my understanding until now. I had to become sannyasi to be liberated. No. If we have Shraddha and we make Antakarana Shuddhi daily doing the sadhana or whatever that our daily rituals, Naitya Karmika Kriyas, okay, our Antakarana becomes Shuddhi, then we are eligible to become with the Antakarana Shuddhi, karmas will be washed, that is Sanchita Karma, and moksha is attained. So good.
We are so fortunate that Brahmaraji has brought us all together.
Yeah, good.
How many times we feel grateful, it is less only.
No, see, we have read already this, but again, when reading it, we get a new thing. I will read this now verse, okay?
Yeah.
Etvedabhyasuyanto nanutishtanti me matam sarvajnana vimudanstan vidhi nashtana chetasaha. Two, whereas those who abhyasuyanta, the being critical without reason, etat, this may, me, mine, may means mine, matam, vision, na anutishtanti, do not follow, sarvajnana vimudhan, deluded in all realms of knowledge, achetasa, devoid of discrimination, tan, them, nashtam, has lost, vidhi, no. Whereas those who, being critical without reason, do not follow my vision, know them who are deluded in all realms of knowledge and devoid of discrimination as lost. Good. In previous verse, Krishna spoke of those who followed his vision, his mata, meaning the vision of Ishvara. Ishvarasya matam. Such people follow with Shraddha, without having any asuya, without trying to find fault with the vision. In other words, they are karma yogis. They api as well gain liberation just as sannyasis do. That we have done last time. For Krishna to have said that two types of people gain liberation, moksha, is in keeping with what he said in the beginning about there being only two lifestyles, nishtas or mokshas, either sannyasa or karma yoga. There is no third nishtha at all. Whether one is renunciate or karma yogi, liberation can be gained. Throughout the Gita, there is often a two, whereas indicating that a contrast, which seems to be criticism, is being made to bring out the point Krishna was making. Suppose, for example, Krishna had said, this particular thing will release you and is therefore good for you. He would then also say, and if you do not follow this, you will have this particular problem. In other words, if you have knowledge, you are free, and if you do not, you have samsara. Very good. Here, particle two is to denote such a contrast. This particle also indicates an answer to a question, even though the question may not actually be stated. The question may simply be implied, and the answer to it is introduced by tu. Tu is also used for emphasis. In this verse, however, tu contrasts people who do not follow the Lord's vision with those who do. If otherwise, that is tu. If you don't follow this, means he starts with tu. We'll say, no, you will get moksha. If not, that is tu. If not, if I don't follow karma yoga, what will happen? Tu. Contrast people who do not follow the Lord's vision with those who do. Jnana yoga or sannyasa, of course, is too far removed for those who do not follow Krishna's vision. Whereas karma yoga, on the other hand, is possible for such people. Jnana yoga or sannyasa, of course, is too far removed for those who do not follow Krishna's vision. Whereas karma yoga, on the other hand, is possible for such people. But even this they do not follow. Na anutashtanti. Instead, they perform karmas solely to fulfill their own raga dveshas without considering whether this approach can give them what they really want in life. Human life implies the use of reason, viveka. It is not just a matter of doing whatever one wants. People tend to think that they have to fulfill whatever desire pops up in their heads. This behavior is natural for an animal. So how nicely, it is. We think whatever we want, if we do it, that is viveka. That is, we are using our buddhi. Many people, we think that only. Otherwise, why we have to have? If I don't do whatever I want, what is the use of my buddhi? We do that way, the reasoning. So human life implies the use of reason, viveka. It is not just a matter of doing whatever one wants. People tend to think that they have to fulfill whatever desire pops up in their heads, and that is viveka they think. This behavior is natural for an animal, but not for a human being. If a dog feels like barking, it is natural for it to bark. The dog need not think about whether it should bark or not, nor does it have the discriminating buddhi to do so. Whereas, if you feel like shouting, you can always refrain from doing so because you have a free will with the discriminating buddhi. Very good. Living a human life implies discrimination. In order to live the life of human being, a person has to make use of this buddhi, viveka. Krishna was talking here about those who do not make use of their viveka. In other words, those who do not follow his mata because they have asuya. They are abhyasuyantaha. To justify how they are living, they find some blemish or other with reference to Krishna's vision. They criticize it, disregard it, and put forth endless arguments to justify what they are doing. Being critical, finding blemishes in this mata, they do not follow it. With reference to these people, Krishna says, please know them. Tan vidhi. Understand those who do not follow this vision to be sarva jnana vimudaha. Sarveshu jnaneshu vimudaha. Deluded in terms of all forms of knowledge. Such people are deluded about their familial and social obligations, which come under Karma Yoga. They are deluded with respect to national obligations also. They do not even remember or think about the many forces, devatas, that are constantly at work to keep them going and towards whom there are certain obligations. All these obligations are disregarded by those who do not follow Krishna's vision. Instead, they think that the family, the society, and the nation are obliged to them. They think that the society should protect them and help them gain whatever it is that they want. And if the society fails to do this, then the national government should do it. People who think this way are self-centered, interested only in their own welfare, which means fulfilling their ragas and dveshas, unmindful of the welfare and interest of the others. Thus, with reference to dharma and adharma, right and wrong, they are deluded, vimudaha. They are also vimudhas with reference to atma and anatma, what is real and not real, what is true and not true. With reference to all human pursuits, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, they are vimudhas. Even with reference to eating, they are deluded. They do not know what to eat, what not to eat, how much to eat, and so on. Without becoming a fadist, a person should know the basics of what is important in life. But for these people, delusion is rampant. It exists everywhere. This is the meaning of sarva in expression sarva jnana vimudaha. At all levels of understanding, there is delusion. Thus, we are to know that the people being discussed here are totally deluded. All understanding requires
Excuse me.
discipline.
We can
Yes.
keep the further time for Manana.
Yeah. What is, I think, how much it is? Can you check it?
It's 6:18 now.
No. Later on, all understanding requires is too many, or if it is small, we can finish that.
No, it's a long.
Yes, it's long. Okay, then. Good.
Bramraji, are you still there?
No, I think she might be taking rest. Very good it was. No, so nice. This is this complete Shraddha and Viveka, you know.
Yeah, Jai Gurudev, very nice. I think if we can do a little bit of recap, if everyone can, give their inputs, because I think we started with verse 30 and we did until when?
30 only, 31.
30, 31. So that the verse 30 is very important, right? For a karma yogi. He describes how a karma yogi should work. Vigata jvaraha. Can we just read that verse once so that we can get the info?
Yeah, that is Nirashir, Adhyatma Chetasa, Nirashir,
Nirashir Nirmamo Bhutva
Nirmamo,
Vigata
and
Jvaraha.
also Vigata Jvaraha. These are 4 Nirvari. Adhyatma Chetasa is always needed. Discrimination factor, you know. Without Asha, Nirashi, and Nirmama, without the minus.
But you know, Nirashi, I don't know whether that translates to without desire, because without desire there cannot be any action, right? That is without
divide of expectation. See,
no, you can't say even that. You cannot say devoid of expectation. Then there is no action possible.
We have to do the action without expectation, no? Karma yoga is that.
With a mind that is discriminating, devoid of expectations with reference to the future. Of any sense of mindness, without any anger or frustration whatsoever, fine. So, devoid of expectations with reference to the future. See, without you expecting, without you having a desire, you cannot even start an action. What is meant by a karma yogi is whatever the result is, you do not get stuck to your expectation. Whatever the result is, you take it as prasada. That is the whole thing, right?
We have to do what it has to be done at this moment.
What has to be done, you do.
Do. That is the job of karma yogi.
Correct.
So when you think of the future, then the fear starts, you know, and anger and the frustration starts. That is vigata jvara. Your fear becomes the jvara, you know, whether it will be done or not done when you think of future. So nirashi means without expectation, without thinking of the future, what has to be done. Okay. Without mindness means I am doing it or it is mine. Therefore, I am doing it. That has also to be thought of, you know, without mindness and being vigata jvara means without anger or frustration for the future. So when you think of future, frustrations happen usually. So we have to live in the present moment. This is what this all completely this verse 30. It says that we have to be in present moment. Present moment is inevitable and you have to do what it has to be done, and it has to be done 100%. Without expectations, nirashi, without asha, okay, nirmama, oh, because it is mine, I have to do it, that also has not to be seen. And then without thinking of the future, frustrating or anger. Sometimes, we say, we got this job now, oh, why it has come? That itself is Vigata Jwara. Only I have to do, I don't know when I will be free from this, this job. Like that we are thinking many times. That Vigata Jwara also has to be there. So four things are needed. Adhyatma Chetasa also is with the mind that is discriminating. Chetasa means what it was told. They gave in with mind, clear mind, that is Chetasa, with Adhyatmik, towards the God, means Ishvara Bhava. We are doing anything for Ishvara, and whatever prasada we have to do, we have to take. Good, nice it is. Mai sarvani karmani sanyassadhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yuddhasva vigatajvaraha. Yuddhasya means fight. Good. This is fight within, many times we have to fight within ourselves. Otherwise, we will be not in the present moment to take a proper action. And with reference to Arjuna, it is fight what he is doing there. Nice.
Anyone else wants to say something?
Good.
The
We have
only
to,
thing is for a
we have
karma
to
yogi,
remember this. We have to remember this verse. Very nice. Very important. To be karma yogi.
so that aspect of recognizing Ishvara is very important. Whatever we do,
Yeah,
whether it is Laukika karma or Vaidika karma. Vaidika karma, anyway, you are, you're praying to the Lord. But even Laukika karma, you have to bring him into your awareness and all actions unto him. Then that mindness will automatically drop.
Even Vigata Jara is also drop. Because we are depending upon the Ishvara.
Basically, that is what we call honoring the practice. No? When in Patanjali Yoga Sutras they say, Sati Dirgha Kala Nairantarya Satkara Sevito Dridabhumi. Satkara Sevito. That honoring whatever you're doing, when you're honoring it, you're bringing in that sanctity. Like Gurudev explains how honoring is you're given your manual versus a newspaper. How would you, deal with a manual? You will keep it in a safe place, in a sacred place. But a newspaper is not given the same status. But if we can give everything we do, whether it's a newspaper or this, or your manual or your, even the Bhagavad Gita, for instance, we revere it, isn't it? So similarly, if we can imbibe this revere, if we can revere everything that we do, even like Laukika karma, like folding clothes,
anything,
feeding our children, anything, cooking, for instance.
See, atheist also will do it, but with the seva bhavana for the Ishvara. If you do that, that is adhyatma chetasa.
And that discrimination should be there.
Ah,
That minus
then
should be
it
dropped. You
becomes-
should not do, you must not do things expecting that you will be praised, you will get recognition. Then that becomes rajasic. So with the sattvika bhavana, that is, you're doing it because it has to be done.
Very good. Each and every
See,
verse.
very often when we post, simple example is when you post a message on social media, for instance, you normally expect that everyone will, give their comments and you get likes, and you tend to, that's human nature, to tend to compare. Okay, who all have given likes, who has not, how many likes this time. So that is getting into a
Vigata jvara.
samskari. It's a karmi. It's not a karma yogi. It's a karmi at action. So we have to identify ourselves whether we are a bogi, yogi. Between a bogi and a yogi, I don't think we are rogis. We're not that bad. So it's either vacillating between being bogi and yogi. So bogi is one who manipulates the world. So there, everything is centered on him. It is he needs recognition, or he needs security, he needs money, whatever. So that is dropped there. He's a yogi. He's only he's manipulating his mind with that discrimination, with that Ishvara bhava, with that surrender. And whatever the consequence is, I think maybe the direct translation, I may have missed a little bit of the explanation of the PDF of Nirashi, but if I remember earlier in chapter 2, Swamiji had mentioned, you cannot do any action without expecting a result. Without a desire, there is no action that can be done. So
you can read
it
that.
is not so much the
Nirashi.
expectation, but it is the attitude with which you take the consequence, the result. See, when you start cooking, you expect that the dish will come out well. But supposing the dish comes out otherwise, then you take that in your stride. You don't get frustrated, you don't get angry, you don't start blaming yourself. So that, I think, is the whole thing about Nirashi and not getting attached to the result. No? Otherwise, without expectation, how can you actually start doing anything? Even what you have to do, you do because and you expect that there is some result that comes out of it.
See, this adhyatma chetasa.
Yeah, expecting is not the problem. Getting stuck with the expectation is the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
These two words are very good, needed for a karma yogi.
You want to close the session, Pramanaji?
Yeah.
Rinal, you do the honors, Rinal.
No, you are there.
No.
Please, I don't even remember the shloka which you chant.
It's only Loka Samasta, don't worry.
Okay, I'll do. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.